Hey everybody, Jenny here, and welcome to my first YouTube video. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make this little baby jock. This little baby jacks is inspired, or based off of my baby bunny pattern. It's the same pattern, I just switched all the colors to match Jax's. So if you prefer written patterns, it's available on my Etsy. For baby jacks, the supplies you'll need are, I'm using a 4mm hook, pair of scissors, stuffing of course, a stitch marker. I also recommend using hooks. I like to use this silver one for embroidering, and then I like to use this bigger hook to roughly place the ears while sewing them. If you're yarn, you need pink, purple, yellow, and black. So for this pattern, I'm using US terminology, and these are all the stitches and abbreviations I'm going to be using for this pattern. So if you're ready, let's jump right in. Now starting with the body, we're going to pick our pink yarn and we're going to make a magic circle. There's a million one ways to make a magic circle. This is how I make mine. So take your yarn, I'm going to pinch with my thumb here, my index finger, and then I'm going to go from left to right, loop around, right to left. And then take your hook and go to this top part, the part that's further away from you. We're going to go under, over, and then pull it through. Twist it up. I'm going to do a little slip stitch, and this will be our magic circle. So now that we have our magic circle, for our first round, we're going to do 8 single crochets. So to make single crochets in your circle, you're going to put it in the circle, grab your yarn, oops, let me try that again. So put it in the circle, grab your yarn, pull it through, and then pull the yarn over those 2 loops. That's 1 single crochet. Show you again. In the circle, grab your yarn, pull it through, and then pull it through with loop 2. So we're going to do 8 of these in total. So we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now once we're done with those 8 single crochets, we're going to take our tail and just close the magic circle. I also usually have a lot of excess tail, so I'm going to take my scissors and just cut that off so it doesn't get in the way later. And now we're ready for round 2. So for round 2, we're going to do increase in every single stitch. So 8 increases in total. So to do increase, it's just 2 single crochets in 1. So I'm going to put my hook in my stitch, grab my yarn, pull it through, 1. Then go back in that same stitch we just did. Grab the yarn, pull it through, 2. That's your first increase. If you're going to use stitch marker 2, you're going to put it in the first one you made for this round. So we made 2 for our first increase, and then we're going to do that all the way around. So 1, and then go back in the middle one again, 2, and 1, 2. I'm going to do this in every single stitch, and at the other row, we're going to be left with 16 single crochets. Alright, now I'm done with my last one. So now we're done with round 2, and now we're going to move on to round 3. So to do the back, we're going to do all the back loops only. So in this, so you can see there's 2, we're going to do, kind of go in half. So the back loop's the one that's further away from you. So we're going to go in the back, put our loop in, pull it through, and pull our yarn through. And then add your stitch marker, and then go back in the back loops again for the whole round. So back loop, pull it through, 2, back loop, pull it through, and before we do this, we're going to color change to purple yarn. We're going to take our purple yarn and then grab it with your hook and pull it through. So you have, this is 1, 2, 3 in pink, and now we got purple. So grab your yarn, so you have 2 on your hook, and then go into the back loop, grab your yarn, pull it through, and only go over, pull through these first 2 loops. So grab your yarn again, and you pull through. So that's 1. and we're going to do that 2 more times for a total of 3. So loop your yarn, insert into the stitch, pull your yarn through, and only go through these first 2. That's 2, and then we're going to do one more time. Loop, insert, pull yarn through, and then pull for the first 2. And before we pull this, we're going to change back to our pink yarn. So take your pink yarn and pull that through all 4 stitches, all of them. And that is your first bobble stitch. But we're going to continue in pink. And we're going to do 8 more single crochet in the back loop. So back loop 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and this one's going to be my 8th, but before I pull it through both the loops, we're going to switch back to our purple yarn. So take your purple yarn, and then you're going to take your yarn and pull it through for the 8th one. So it's bobble stitch, and then you have 8 single crochets, and now we're going to do another bobble stitch. So remember, yarn over, pull it through, pull your yarn through, pull it through the first 2, 1, and over, in the stitch, pull it through, and then pull it through the first 2, 2, and then do one more. We got 3, and then go back to our pink yarn, and then pull it through all 4. And now we're going to be done with our purple yarn until we move on to the head. So take this yarn and cut it off. This is nice to keep secure. Just tie them to each other from the first tail when you first change to purple, and then right now when we just ended it. I also might come a little shorter. They end up getting in my way. And we can say this for stuffing later. So now we're back to pink. And then we have 3 stitches left, and we're going to do 3 in the back loop, single crochet. So 1, 2, 3. And now we're done with round 3. So for round 4, first let's take off our stitch marker. We can do a single crochet in pink. This is our first single crochet for this round. And I add my stitch marker back. And so we're going to do 5 single crochets in pink. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th one we're going to do the same thing again, where we're going to color change to yellow yarn. So take your yellow yarn and pull it through the last one, your 5th single crochet in pink. And then we're going to do another bobble stitch. So loop, insert 1, loop, insert 2, and then finally our 3rd one. And after done with that, we're going to switch back to our pink yarn and pull it through all 4 loops on our hook. And that's the first bobble stitch. And then we're going to do 4 more single crochets in pink. So we got 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so for our 4th one again, we're going to change back to yellow. So take your yellow and pull it through those 2 and do another bobble stitch. So 1, 2, and 3. Then go back in, switch back to your pink, grab it and pull it through all 4. So now that we're done with our yellow yarn, we're going to cut it again and do the same thing we did with our purple, and take the 2 ends from we started and ended using yellow and just tie them together. It's not to be super taut, just enough to keep it secure. And then again, I like to cut off the excess so it doesn't get in the way later. And now going back to our pink, we're going to finish the round with 5 more single crochets in pink. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So now we're done with Jax's body. This is what it should be looking like with all the bobble stitches. And we're going to be switching to purple yarn. And the best way I found to do this is you can pull it through, and I'm just going to cut it. Almost like we're ending off with the color, which we are. And then we're going to grab our purple yarn, and we're just going to tie these two together. Again, there's also a million and one ways the color change. This is just how I do it. So I'm going to take them, tie them together. And you know the trick with me, I like to cut off anything that's too long, just so it doesn't get in the way, especially if it's a tiny plush like this. And then I'm going to go back into these 2 loops, if I can. There we go. Kind of like how they would be if they weren't a hook, but our pink yarn's already been pulled through. We'll just go back and take our purple and also pull it through. And now we're ready to move on to round 5. So round 5 is going to be decreases, a total of 8 decreases for the whole round. So for decrease, you just do 1 single crochet, but you don't pull it through. We're going to go through our next one, also pull it through, and then that counts as 1 stitch. And I'm going to stitch mark it. And then we're going to do that for a total of 8 times. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Done with round 5. I'm going to take like the tiniest amount of stuffing and stuff the body. So for round 6, we're going to do an increase, total of 8 increases in the front loops only. So the front loop, if you look, we have the back loop and the front loop. And we're going to go into the front loop. So the front loop and do 1, and then do 2 single crochets to increase. That's our first increase. There's my stitch marker. Stitch mark that. That's 1 increase. And 1, 2 increases, 3, 1, 2 is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now we're done with round 6. Let's move on to round 7. So move our stitch marker and go into that stitch. And so for our first one, we're going to do increase. So go in once and go in twice and add a stitch marker. And then for the rest of the round, we're going to be repeating 2 single crochets and an increase 5 times. So do 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, and then we're going to do an increase. So 1 and then 2 in the same stitch. That's our first one, and we're going to do this total 5 times. So 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, then increase. That's our second one. 2, then increase. And now we're done with round 7. Next, we're going to move on to round 8 through 10. So 3 rows of just single crocheting 22 all the way around. So we're just going to get... Okay, so now I'm done with round 10. We're going to move on to round 11. And we're going to start off with 1 singular decrease. So the 1 loop, 2 loop, and we decrease our stitch marker. And then we're going to do the same thing again, like in round 7. We're going to do 2 single crochets, and then we're going to decrease 5 times. So do 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, and then decrease. And that's 1. Redo that for the rest of the round. So 1, 2, decrease. 1, 2, decrease. 3. 1, 2, decrease. 4. And the last one. 1, 2, and decrease 5. So now we're going to start stuffing the head. So grab the stuffing. I'm going to stuff. Okay, and then now we're ready for round 12. And round 12 is our final round. For round 12, we're going to do 8 decrease. Okay, so let's do 8 decrease. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and finally 8. Now we're done, we can cut our yarn. And I'm going to leave you a tail and show you how I close my circle. So I like to go through these be the front loops of each. So we have 8, so we're going to pull it through 1, and then go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and finally we have 8. So I show you all of those. And then we're just going to pull it and watch the magic. And so it's so neat. And then to hide all this pizzazz, I just pull it through here through the back, just so it's a little less noticeable. Just going to pull this through. I always get stuffing. It always happens. But I'm going to pull it taut again. And cut. There's not too much yarn. And then I go back. And then pull the yarn and the stuffing I pulled out back into the head. And then that is our body complete. And now we're ready to move on to the ears. So for the ears, we're going to take our purple yarn and we're going to make another magic circle. And with this magic circle, we're going to do 7 single crochets inside the magic circle. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then take your tail and pull it taut. Again, I'm going to do it where I'm going to cut off this extra bit of tail because it can be a bit much. Now we have our magic circle of 7. And so for rounds 2 through 6, you're just going to do 7 single crochets a round, so a total of 35 single crochets. And pause the video and come back when you're done with the 5 rounds. So once you're done, I'm going to take my yarn and I'm going to cut it. And then pull the yarn through so you can use for sewing later. And then you have one ear. And then for Jax's ears, you're going to make 2 of these. So I have 2 ears. So starting off with the ears, it's just stuff. I'm taking some leftover purple yarn. I'm just putting that in there. Once you've got your ears stuffed, we're going to go back to our little Jax plushie. Place the ears in line with the center of the body. And they both roughly touch kind of where we closed our hole at the end. But just line up, you're like, okay, this looks good. This is where I want the ear to be. So I'm going to take my needle and then I'm going to put it in there so it stays in place even if I don't touch it and it's not sewn yet. So stay in the same area I want it to. So then to sew, there's probably better methods or tutorials out there, but the way I sew it, I kind of just, I go and put it roughly where I have it roughly placed. And I usually like to go pull it out more than go inward. I know some people too say to use the front loops to sew, but I personally, I find it better when I go through both loops. Through, and then I'm going to pull it through. And I'm just going to go all the way around until we reach the end. And then after we're done with sewing, I'm just going to slip stitch. Just going to slip stitch, so pull it through. And before I pull it all the way through, I'm going to slip stitch. Pull that taut. Oh crap, I'm throwing my scissors. I'm going to cut the yarn. And then we got this little tail. I'm going to pull that and hide it inside the body. And then we can say bye-bye to the needle. That's one ear done. And then we're going to use the same exact method. Stuff it, roughly place it, and sew it on for the other ear. Okay, now that you're done with the second ear, all the sewing's done and we're ready to embroider. So I'm going to take my yellow yarn. I'm going to feed it through my needle. A little messy, but it's there. And then I'm going to tie a double knot just to make sure it's secure while we're working. And then, so this is going to be used for the nose. And so, here's a little visual, so the nose and mouth. So the best way to do this is to find the most center point. And for me, this is the center. So for me, this is where the nose is going to be here. Because the nose is going to be 3 stitches long. So I envision it here. So I'm going to start by having my needle come out. I like to start in the back, so when I tie the hole off later, it doesn't show as well. But you see, so this is our middle. This is where I want my hook to come through. So I'm going to have my hook come through this stitch right here. Okay, pull it through. See, back. Okay, and then so we're going to do 3 across. So 1, 2. You can insert in this one, and then have it come out of the stitch right here. So pull that through. There's your nose. And after this stitch, we're just going to go 1 down into this stitch. And then have it come out wherever you first inserted your hook. So we can make our nose. Perfect. And then in the back here, we're just going to tie these ends off. With my scissors, I'm gonna cut it. And then we're gonna hide the excess yarn inside the body. Perfect. Okay, now if we're done with the nose, we're ready to move on to the eyes. So I'm doing the same thing again, but I'm gonna take black yarn instead and put it on the needle. And the eyes are gonna go right next to the nose, just 2 little straight lines. So I'm doing the same thing again, I'm going from the back. And then I'm trying to go to this one. Oop, not that one. This one. And pull that through. Just not too short. And then just go one down. And we go across here. We go right next to the nose. There's one stitch next to the nose. Pull that. There's one eye. And then go one below. Put in this one. And we're going to come out wherever our needle first went in. And pull it. Cute. Okay. Same thing again. We're going to tie it. And we're going to hide it. Oh, Lord. And then after the eyes, you are done. And thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. And subscribe for more future tutorials, especially from this fandom. And I'll see you guys later. Bye!